President Trump promising Texas that the federal government will do everything it can to help that state bounce back.
We're going to be working with Congress on helping out the state of Texas. It's going to be a costly proposition.
Experts now predicting damage in the tens of billions of dollars. And joining us now to assess the cost, chair of the program in business and finance at the King's College in New York City, Brian Brenberg. And Brian, as rain is still falling in some parts of Texas, very, very early to start making these predictions. But as we sit here, what do we think it's going to be at this point?
Well, look, I think it could easily be beyond, we've heard $30 to $50 billion. It could be beyond that because it's so hard to tell from the flooding what kind of damage you're going to have to infrastructure in Houston. So we've got to watch the cleanup, and the cleanup's going to take a while. But I do expect the effects of this to linger through September. I think you're going to see gas prices remain high through September. You're going to see other prices for chemical products, PVC pipe, anything that these chemicals are going into, you're going to see those prices high for a little while because it's going to take time to assess the situation.
And that obviously affects all Americans, not just the folks in Houston. But some economists, I read, are actually coming out and saying Houston, because of the vibrancy of the area, of the people, and the growth that it has seen over the course of the last 20 or so years, could bounce back even stronger. And not just from like a metaphysical perspective, from an actual nuts and bolts economical perspective.
I agree with that. The good news story about Houston is it has a strong economy. People have been pouring in. Capital has been pouring in. So once they can get the cleanup going, you're going to see that trend continue. And I do think Houston is going to be good over the intermediate and long term. It's going to be the short-term pain that's going to be most difficult. But you'll see it bounce back faster probably than Louisiana, New Orleans, say, after Katrina.
We can certainly hope so, because those people in Houston and throughout that area need something right now. Switching gears, President Trump is now headed to Springfield, Missouri today. I'm going to be joining him, not exactly, but I'm flying out to Springfield in a little bit, to talk about taxes. And the Republicans, specifically the ones in Congress and the one in the White House, they need a win. Will taxes be their win?
They need it badly. I think it will be their win, but it's not going to look the way we talked about it looking 9 months ago when we were getting started with this conversation. It's probably going to be a smaller cut, focused much more on the middle class than on businesses or high-income earners. They just want to get something through that they can sell in 2018 when they go back to voters and say, yes, indeed, Republicans can govern. Here's what we got done to prove it.
From a specifics perspective, let's go to corporate. Do we think corporate's going to be 15%, or do we think something a little bit more around the 22%?
22 to 25% for sure. You're not going to get 15 through Congress because congressmen don't want to be seen as giving businesses big tax cuts, right? They want to do something that they think can be stimulative, but they don't want to go overboard because they don't want to have that brand. So unfortunately, I think you're going to get more a 25% range than a 15% range.
What about for the individuals, the people of America who desperately have been asking for tax cuts for so long?
That's going to be the centerpiece of this plan. Everybody wants to go back to their district and say, we got a middle-class tax cut done. So it's going to be smaller than we were talking about, but it's going to be focused on middle-income earners. And I think that's a good thing overall. It's not what we were hoping for, but it will move the ball down the field a little bit. It will have some stimulative effect, and that's good for America at this point.
And the goal, I think they're talking about more simplification, 3 tiers, a lot fewer deductions, but a lot more focus there in those deductions.
And the deductions, that's going to be the tricky part because everybody benefits from certain deductions, whether it's a mortgage deduction, whether it's a state income tax deduction. That's where it's going to get thorny. My guess is they're not going to push those hard. At the end of the day, they're going to let those drop if that's what's required to get the middle-class tax cut done. So expect this to be small, probably not going to be revenue neutral, which means it might expire after 10 years, but that's the price you pay when your back's against the wall.
Brian, appreciate your insight on all these topics. Sincerely do. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You bet.